What's up, YouTube? Today is Sunday, October the 6th, and I am reporting great, wonderful news. So first we have to give a congratulations to now Justice Kavanaugh, who was confirmed yesterday in a vote of 50 to 48. There was lots of speculation as to it being 53 to 47 or 52 to 48. It ended up being a very, very, very slim vote of 50 to 48. And so congratulations. I did say that I believed he would be confirmed. And so for all of you who are also rooting on Kavanaugh, wishing for the same things, having the same hopes that we will make common sense great again, we were victorious. So whoop, whoop. I saw some hilarious memes and I actually created one myself. I don't know if it was that exciting, but I included like Wu-Tang. Wu-Tang, the rap group. I did a meme. If you've seen that picture of Dianne Feinstein where she had like Murkowski against the wall and she had her arm up and she looks like she was like towering over her with this domination and kind of a mean look on her face. If you listen to any Wu-Tang music, they sample old like Japanese movies or karate, and they were like, choose the sword, join me and choose the sword. I'm not going to get into it. Anyway, so good news. Good news is that October the 26th through the 28th, you have the WalkAway campaign who is actually going to be marching on Washington. It is going on from October the 26th through the 28th. For more information, you can go to Brandon Stracker's Unsilent Majority page. He has a Facebook, he has a YouTube, he is on Twitter. If you are interested in participating, all the details, any correspondence, any information you would like to get, you can go to that site and you can find that information. There was some concerns about safety measures being taken place. I am under the impression that there is. I could say that I read something recently where he said that there will be enforcements there for that. For anyone who may have been concerned about anything regarding, Antifa, people are not trying to go to jail. They're just trying to express themselves, right? So in a safe environment. But regardless, the highlight of this video is that I analyze the phenomenal speech of Susan Collins. And if you've watched this channel, you've heard me analyze other things before. Now, I didn't only analyze it because she had my last name, which I'm very proud of, but I analyzed it because of how fantastic it was, how direct, how straightforward, how nonpartisan, how rational it was, and the fact that she went into explaining every reason as to why she voted the way she voted. I was talking to a colleague of mine who was concerned that she was going to flip or she might do something else because when the president was out speaking, she seemed to be critical of him. But that wasn't my thinking. I was thinking that because of this crazy, very divisive political climate, that this was like absolutely necessary, or at least Susan Collins felt that this was necessary, that she had to do this, to just lay this out for the American people, for her constituents, for the naysayers, for the opposition, for the people who was in support of. And Susan Collins laid out exactly why she supports the rule of law. And she went into her speech by opening up and saying these few things. So initially, when she started her speech, Susan says, President nominated Kavanaugh on July the 9th. Within moments, special interest groups raced to be the first to oppose him, including one organization that didn't even bother to fill in the judge's name on his pre-written press release. They simply wrote that they opposed Donald Trump's nomination to the court. A number of senators joined the race to announce their opposition, but they were beaten to the punch by one colleague who announced opposition before the nominee's identity was even known. These are senators. These are the people who make the decision on a nomination. So from the door, before his identity was even known, they were going to oppose him. So did Judge Kavanaugh ever have a fair chance? Was he ever going to be looked at for his record? Was he ever going to be respected for the position he's taken in his entire professional career that was put on trial? For what? When no matter what, even if it wasn't Kavanaugh, anybody it was going to be, they were going to oppose. That was the bottom line. So no one would have had a fair chance. No justice that would have been put before the court would have had a fair chance. Based on these measures, just in her opening, this is what Susan Collins said. Since then, special interest groups whipped up their followers in a frenzy by spreading, misrepresenting, and writing falsehoods about Kavanaugh's judicial record. Over-the-top rhetoric, unprecedented amount of dark money was spent to oppose this nomination. Now, these are all Susan Collins' words in her opening statement. And she goes into explaining how she began her process. And I think what was probably the most unique part about this was her breaking down Judge Kavanaugh's record because it was being misrepresented and there was allegations being thrown around that were not backed by his opinions, and it was not backed by the way that he was ruling on the record. So Susan goes into saying, I began my process of evaluating Kavanaugh's nomination by viewing his 12-year record on the D.C. Court of Appeal, including over 300 opinions. So she laid this down. Not only that, she's not a lawyer. So she partnered with 19 nonprofit, nonpartisan organizations, legal teams, to assist her with her evaluation of the record. So if she had any questions and concerns about things that she did not know, because she is not a lawyer, she consulted with nonprofit, nonpartisan organizations of lawyers for them to explain to her and break things down to her, so she wouldn't be biased. She met with all the stakeholders. Stakeholders were over 1,000 constituents. She spoke to colleagues. She spoke to people who knew him professionally. She had his record. She had his public record and the way that he operated. So she had a slew of information. You guys should know that it's been, I think they say Kavanaugh has submitted over 500,000 documents, more than any Supreme Court justice in the history. So his record, clearly, anything you wanted to know about Kavanaugh regarding his record, his ruling on courts prior to applying for this job, was there for you to see. It was submitted. So then thereafter, Susan went into going over Kavanaugh's record. Kavanaugh's record, which has been the distortion of the record, and nothing but to put around confusion and chaos regarding this man. So the first allegation that's put out that Susan says that the opposition put out is that Kavanaugh was likely to eliminate the Affordable Care Act's pre-existing conditions. So, you know, in the Affordable Care Act, it says that you cannot deny a person coverage based on a pre-existing condition. So they made this accusation about him that he was gonna overturn that, or he was gonna change that. It's not true. Susan Collins then laid out some cases regarding some challenges for the Affordable Care Act where Kavanaugh did the exact opposite of what they're saying he was going to do. You know, it was a long speech. It's about 45 minutes, so, you know, I would bore you to death if I went through all of it, but you can also click on a link, or I encourage you to watch the entire speech. It was awesome, like I said. Another point that they put out, which was another distortion of the record, Kavanaugh cannot be trusted if a case of wrongdoing would come before the court regarding a president. Collins went to say that this is twofold. Here's the facts. She said Kavanaugh has written to Congress that they should enact legislation. So Kavanaugh wrote to Congress requesting that they create legislation to protect the presidents from criminal prosecution and civil liability while in office. So if he's written to Congress acting or advocating for them to create legislation that's going to protect the president from criminal prosecution and liability, that implies that there's nothing in place then, and that we need to put a law in place. Yet they're making the claim that he can't be trusted if something's going to come in front of him of a president doing wrongdoing. If there's no legal statute that's protecting the president, then of course he could be found guilty, right? That's what this implies. So, due to the special counsel investigation, President Trump should not be allowed to nominate a Supreme Court justice. Here's the next claim. Okay, so this is how they feel. Due to the current special counsel investigation, President Trump should not be allowed to nominate a Supreme Court justice. The facts: President Clinton in 1993 nominated Justice Ginsburg after the Whitewater investigation was underway. You know how much Ginsburg was confirmed with? 96-3. 96-3. Let's just think about that. So from 1993, Ginsburg, Supreme Court nominee, was nominated 96-3. What was Kavanaugh nominated? 50-48. If that just puts a picture as to how partisan and divided this country has become, but also more so even in the politics, that even back then, there was rational thinking people who did the right thing. 96-3. Okay. The next year, after Robert Fisk was named to lead the Whitewater investigation, President Clinton nominated Justice Breyer. Confirmed 87-9. See a trend here? I mean, just those numbers are insanely, overwhelmingly rational people, forget about party affiliation or party size, was doing the right thing no matter what. So, 87-9. Furthermore, Supreme Court justices, she went into saying, have not hesitated to rule against the presidents who have nominated them. So the claim was that Kavanaugh was going to play sides and be partisan and do whatever it is that Trump wants to do. She's saying, contrary, his record does not state that. She's saying that Supreme Court justices have not hesitated to rule against the presidents who have nominated them, perhaps most notably in the U.S. versus Nixon. 3 Nixon appointees who heard the case joined the unanimous opinion. All right, so 3 Supreme Court judges that was appointed by Nixon ruled against him unanimously with the majority. They joined. Kennedy's so the next point that the opposition made was that Kennedy's resignation threatens the rights of same-sex couples. Not true. Won't give you the point on that, but she explained exactly how he viewed same-sex couples and talked about a precedent, and basically has the previous precedent that has been set shouldn't be challenged, and that it's in the Constitution. I'll point that out a little bit further. But Roe versus Wade. So they said that Kavanaugh is going to seek to overturn Roe versus Wade. We know what Roe versus Wade is. This is this big debate about abortions being legal in the country. This is a lie. He never has made any statements about wanting to challenge that. And his actual feelings on the Supreme Court is that the Supreme Court sets a precedent when they rule a certain way. It's not merely a practice or tradition. However, it is rooted in Article 3 of the Constitution itself. Kavanaugh's a constitutionalist, which is exactly what conservatives or people who are Republicans or consider themselves to be whatever party affiliation. They wanted a constitutionalist, not an activist judge. Okay? And that's what we got, which is so wonderful about this confirmation of Kavanaugh. So they've been distorting and smudging and smearing the record with all these allegations about what he would do. And his record speaks contrary to everything, all these allegations that they've made. Okay? So basically, regardless, he is saying that the precedent that has been set Basically, it's ingrained and it becomes part of our lives. So he's not seeking to overturn any of these things. And he's verifying that this is rooted, that specific thing about the precedent is rooted in Article 3 of the Constitution. Honoring precedent is essential to maintaining public confidence, he goes on to state. He's gotten rave reviews from the American Bar Association, which I don't know if you've seen recently, that they're trying to mess with his records or challenge him. Now, since when? The American Bar Association, over 500 people that were solicited, gave Kavanaugh the highest possible rating he could get. It concluded that Kavanaugh's integrity, his judicial temperament, and professional confidence met and exceeded judicial standards. So what was ever the problem with Kavanaugh? There was never a problem with Kavanaugh. He had an impeccable record, brilliant, brilliant man. And all they did is seek to do was to destroy him. But you know what? Some other force has their hands in this. God doesn't make mistakes. This was meant, right? Just like with the election of Donald Trump. They did everything they could to stop this man. It didn't work. It didn't prevail. So the fight is not over. I encourage and I'm hoping everybody who's watching, if you took the time to watch my video, I hope it wasn't, I didn't bore you, but I felt it was so important. Get out and vote. It's not over. The next thing they're on to is they're going to impeach him. I mean, it's so obvious. They don't even care anymore. This is it. There's no rational thought anymore. They're stating what they want to do. They don't care. It's scorched earth for them. I don't even see them as a political party anymore. And at the same time, I believe everything happens for a reason. I think they're disgusting. I can't stand them. I loathe the group. They are empty shell. They are cult. And the fact that we are emotions over everything, no. It's facts over feelings. Put your feelings aside and we have to go with the facts. And I think even more dangerous in closing out, guys, I promise. I think what's even more dangerous, if you have the likes of people like Jared Kushner, Van Jones, and other high-profile people who are working on so-called criminal justice reform, how can we have a precedent like this where someone's deemed guilty and then they have to prove themselves innocent? Isn't that the problem we have right now as far as with criminal justice reform and why the need for criminal justice reform exists? When you have so many people who have been wrongfully convicted, wrongfully accused, but based on them not having maybe finances to get proper legal representation, and they're pretty much being coerced by their free representation of legal aids to cop out and to take a lesser sentence, whether they're guilty or not. That's not right. It's not right. So I think, for organizations like the ACLU, who is completely off, they've been overtaken. It's all crazy left radical stuff. Now, no law doesn't exist anymore. These organizations were put in place to protect people and their civil liberties. But they're protecting nothing anymore. Now it's all about politics. Politics. It's crazy. Very crazy. But you know what? Truth prevails. So congratulations again, Justice Kavanaugh, for all you guys who are watching. Thank you for tuning in. If you've made it this far, 19 minutes in, you got love for me. I got love for you. I'm going to ask that you continue to share my videos, subscribe, like, and as always, I will see you soon. Bye.